we're looking at in our fellowship right now is Ram Dass.
Mm-hmm.
And Ram Dass talks about us bringing ourselves into the soul relationship with that person. Because soul to soul, there's still room to nurture the soul relationship. The soul relationship didn't go anywhere. So it's kind of that thing of it's not me in relationship to the sick person or me in relationship to the addict, or it's the same soul, different form. So if we had a deep soul love, right, then that transcended this form change. Mm-hmm. That transcended the form. And in some ways, we no longer are dealing with both of our neuroses. We're no longer dealing with our limitations. We're no longer dealing with the frustrations that we had in relationship. Sometimes it can bring us even closer in some ways than if they were here.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like you drop your persona. You drop your persona and you are now in the heart space with your experience of that person at all times.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean you're not going to get mad. That doesn't mean that you're not going to blame. That doesn't mean that you're not going to have guilt. Mm-hmm. You're still working through all that. But we have to come to terms with, it's almost like we started in a soul relationship. That's why we were drawn together in the first place. Now we're back in soul relationship.
Yep.
So, and really what happens in the grieving process is that you birth, if you go through the process, you birth things that were inside of you in your soul already waiting on you to actualize them. So when someone dies around you, there's an opportunity for you to birth a new aspect of yourself. And that's painful. Birth hurts, right?
That's what I heard.
Yeah, right. So, Ram Dass talks about you can either suffer with the grain or you can suffer against the grain. And what he means by that is that there is a certain flow to suffering. There's a certain flow that is it's like the life force is still happening within the grieving. Mm-hmm. So that if you suffer more when you go against that, you suffer more whenever you go against life, because your life is still calling on you to live it. And even if you live it today, all I can do is this, and today all I can do is this, there's still a call for you because you are still here.
Yep. And actually, that was my original question, which is actually about the gift of grieving. And even when I think about the process of birth, it's like a gift, that's on the other side of that. And it also makes me think about, I was talking to somebody recently about how when we stop fighting against whatever it is, pain or fear or whatever, it's almost like swimming in the ocean and with a really bad undercurrent. But the harder you try to go against it, the farther out you go or the more you get sucked into it. And I was talking to him about that, and I said, can you tell me a time when you just kind of gave up and, just went with the flow? And he was like, actually, it was in that exact scenario where as I was swimming in the ocean, I realized I had like a little board. I can't remember. It wasn't like a surfboard, but he said, and I just stopped trying. And I went kind of parallel to the shore, and then I was okay.
Yeah.
And it was like a very beautiful moment of, sometimes when we just stop fighting against whatever it is, then the process just naturally happens. Just as you were saying, you naturally feel whatever it is you're feeling, whether it's with the spiritual background or not. Just allowing yourself to go through it.
Yes.
Yeah. And what I really appreciate about you, Kendall, is you've been sharing a lot on Facebook about your process, and it's, just your writing has such it really hits home really nicely. Tell the people a little bit about what your process is like as you write, or even other creative outlets that you've noticed in your grieving process.
Oh, I love this question. So when Hollis was struggling, I was told one day, just by spirit, like out of the air. It wasn't my voice; it was a larger voice, and it was that I was to start writing a prayer every day online. And I started to see, I was a poet. I have a poet soul. I mean, I was a poet back in the day, and so when I was asked to do that, what I heard was 365 days of praying differently, where people understand that this is just a dialogue that we're always having. So that kind of started my writing process. But the thing about grieving is that a culture that can't grieve together, can't suffer together, is as good as dead. If you cannot grieve and suffer with people around you, you don't have church, you don't have community. What you have is a mask, and what you have is emptiness. And so that is the thing that sends people to communities where they are desperate for authenticity. Please tell me you're not better than me. Please tell me that you understand me. Please tell me that we're the same. Please stop trying to change me. Please stop telling me to think positively. I need to be on my pieces here. Because any life where there's separation or compartmentalization is a divided life, and that's painful. So for me, part of the grieving process is, yes, this is terrifying. Yes, people are going to think, gosh, she's like grieving like real hard about this person who, what was their relationship and all that. And the point is, that doesn't matter what their questions are. What matters is you're having an experience that you're inviting people into. Not the part at the end where all the grace comes through and everything looks great again.
Yep.
People need to know all the parts, right? So for me, I just started writing about, one of the more powerful posts that I put out was, as I was learning it, what can happen the week before the funeral and what can happen the week after the funeral.
Right.
And I had more people message me to say, you hit the nail on the head. I've never heard that articulated. I couldn't even articulate it for myself. People said, a lot of people aren't in contact with grief. So they don't know how to support other people who are grieving. They don't know what they're going to do whenever they experience major loss. And when they read something like that, it gives them a context to know something. Grieving is an invitation to go inward, but it's not something that we need to hide.
Yeah, and I'm going to skip to the O, which is the openness, because I think that's naturally what this is lending itself to, because I flash back to the Sunday of the service, the week after, you had posted that the week after the funeral, and you just shared with us your process, and then you opened up the floor for everybody to talk. And it was just a really beautiful moment of vulnerability, of authenticity, and of you even saying, there was a part of me that didn't really even want to be here today, Tell me what that has been like for you, just to open up with everybody.
It's been healing. It's been cathartic, because I am the type of person that I want to go in a hole. I could really easily crawl into bed, and I don't really have to work. So I could crawl into bed and say, well, I'm good. I need to take the year off, or I need to take this, or whatever. And not that I don't crawl into bed, but there's something that happens whenever you surrender to, I don't know how this is going to go, but we are all human beings in this room. And surely there is some type of divine presence that can be revealed. Divinity can be revealed in this sharing together. So on Sunday, what we saw was, oh my gosh, all these people needed to talk about addiction. I didn't know how many people in our community, right?
Yeah.
We're like, God, everybody's impacted.
Yes.
So it was either that or grieving. And it gave everybody permission to stop holding their breath on whatever they've been holding their breath on.
Mm-hmm.
And then we saw, oh my gosh, this is like a topic that we haven't broached as intensely before. Now, if you're in addiction community, you're in recovery community, you're going there to talk about that. In this case, the way that divinity was revealed is, oh yeah, we are also all dealing with that.
Mm-hmm.
And anybody who's also on a pedestal, anybody who wants to be a helper but isn't willing to be on the same playing field with everybody else is not doing anybody any favors. They're actually hurt. When you have statuses like that, well, that person has got it all figured out. That person is a minister, or that person is this, or that person is a healer. Then where does that leave everybody else? Are they less? Are they? We are in this together.
Right. Yeah. Which is why I even love doing this podcast, because I end up, talking to a lot of people who are in those roles, whether they're healers or ministers, and I appreciate that, because it gives everybody else the glimpse into, wait, even though we have all the answers, or we should know what grief is all about, it doesn't necessarily mean that we're not we're human. And so we still go through those processes just the same as everybody else.
Yeah, and so does the Dalai Lama, and so does the whoever. I mean,
Right.
It's just somebody was advising me, saying, trying to get me out of the expression I was sharing about what it's like, and well, just you just need to see it this way. This is just but a dream, and beyond this, and that souls never die. That's a mind conversation. The heart conversation is entirely different, right? Mm-hmm. So we know all that. We don't even need it to be repeated. We get that part.
Exactly.
Or maybe we don't, but this is a heart conversation.
Gosh, I love that distinction, because so often people try to talk themselves out of their grief, or other people on the opposite side. They think that as you logicize, and that's a word, but you try to, but you right, like you try to speak logic to a grieving process, which is all about the heart and the soul. So it doesn't align. And I think there's so much work nowadays to do in the addictions world. As you were talking, and just realizing how many people are impacted by that, and a lot of times there is the underlying theme of maybe there's pain, maybe there's hurt, maybe there's trauma there, and it's important to give everybody that voice to express whatever it is that may have led to that addictions process or that addiction.
Let me add something to
Sure.
that thing. That's really important. In Hollis's case, my understanding of Hollis, and again, he had about 2 people he could really, really, really confide in. Knew thousands of people, but there was a private Hollis that was reserved for very few. And in that private experience, one of the things that became clear was that he had really tried to fight out of a cage of inauthenticity, of social status behaviors, of this is the way that you need to present and do things. He came from affluent culture, and after the funeral, I saw this quote that said, when you look around you, if the people in your circle aren't inspiring, you're not in a circle, you're in a cage.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And so, it's like what you're talking about. It's like, if we aren't willing to go first and pioneer into transparency, vulnerability, breaking those cultural codes that really don't serve anybody, if we aren't willing to call BS where there is BS, if we're not willing to be human beings together, then people are running to drugs and experiences that will take them to a feeling of some type. It's like a pseudo connection.
Right.
Because at least there I feel peace, or I